Are you looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/bluewire and use code BLUEWIRE. That's code BLUEWIRE at prizepicks.com/bluewire for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for 1 bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
Friends, welcome to an impromptu edition of Mavs Moneyball's group therapy, of which I am titling Shock Therapy, because the Dallas Mavericks are seemingly in on Kyrie Irving, who exploded the Nets organization with a trade demand. Again, in the same season, 2 different ones. Really impressive amount of work from Kyrie here. Now, I'm standing on a football field, and I have no idea how my service will take. I apologize for any background noise. I wanted to get this up and start talking to y'all and let people tell me how they think about things, because I'm really interested. You could probably guess how I feel about it, because I do not like Kyrie Irving. I think he is a frustrating individual, and I think he is a drama queen, as evidenced by the fact that he went 75 days between really disturbing, anti-Semitic behavior, and then a non-apology. But 75 days is just you need to go longer between drama as a professional athlete is sort of where I stand. That said, it can't be denied that particularly this season, just so happens in his in a year before contract, he's playing outstanding basketball. I mean, truly outstanding basketball. So if you're the kind of person that thinks the risk is worth the reward, I think there's justification for that. If you're the kind of person that wants to shoot this idea directly into the sun, there is absolutely justification for that too. The wonderful part is it doesn't really matter what we think, because we don't know what the panic level is in the Dallas Mavericks organization, because the Mavericks are currently 4th in the West by 1,000th of a percentage point. So we'll see if they think that they're, on the precipice of falling down that Western Conference cliff, or if they really think this is a move that could push them towards the title. I will say, I was debating with somebody online earlier today. If you think Kyrie Irving can behave between now, February 2nd, and June, I have some land I'd like to sell you. So those are the ground, kind of the opening remarks, but I'm really interested in what you have to say. Peter really makes a good point about, Kyrie, being, injured right now, or not Kyrie, Luka being injured right now. We don't know what that entails. He's going to miss at least the Golden State game. Shout out to Dallas Mavericks Dwayne Price for making it seem like he would be out for 5 games. Phraseology matters. All right, so let's go with my guy first. We're going to bring up Frank. Hi, Frank.
Hey, what's up, man?
Good. I can hear you good. I'm glad to hear this service. The internet and Wi-Fi service is not Wi-Fi. Cell service is an amazing thing.
Yeah, I'm on cell service too, so if I get choppy, kick me out. But real quick, I mean, we talk about, the only way we're going to be able to get any real player in here is going to be a distressed asset. I think we can talk about all the nuance Kyrie come with, and Lord knows there's more than we can count. But I mean, it's a superstar. It's a ball handling superstar who can handle his own. And I mean, we just get down to the nitty gritty. I mean, could you, for as much as you could sell us on why we should avoid him like the plague, could you play devil's advocate to yourself and speak for it?
You mean like why they should consider him?
Yeah.
I mean, like in a 7-game series, Kyrie's like a terrifying player to have, both good and bad. If he's focused, he's just going to murder teams. He's that talented of a basketball player and a scorer. He makes the impossible look easy. That's the selling point. The defense is kind of like Luka in the sense of, like, I think he can defend. I think convincing him to defend is something else. I think the kind of the sassy answer to this is like having Jason Kidd coach Luka and Kyrie is fucking hilarious. Like that is just it's a riot for me because it's Kidd is such an odd coach, and Kyrie cannot help himself but say the quiet part loud as he sees it, even if he's wrong. And the Mavericks just haven't had anybody that really shakes up press conferences. KP did a little bit, but he did it very professionally. Like he would always get in like slight stabs. So, I don't know. From if you're just talking on court stuff, it's something you absolutely have to consider. Bill Simmons has been rambling about it for a while. It's just everything else that comes with him. Also, the fact that he is seeking, if you're trading for him, then you have to seek to retain him. And it's one thing to talk about Kyrie, the short-term experience, because I think that's actually very interesting. The long-term Kyrie experience simply hasn't worked out for anyone. Like he can't help himself.
Yeah, he's crazy if he thinks he's going to get 4 for whatever. He has to go for 2. I mean, yeah, it's a rental. It literally is or taking anything less than 4, then it's just, at that point, we can't give away any picks. We can't give away.
Yeah, if you were to get Kyrie Irving for no picks, I would have to be like, okay, all right.
Yeah. I'm thinking like Spencer, Woolock, and THJ.
Well,
and
so
maybe,
somebody, I got to find the take. This was just a really good take. Ethan in the chat just noted, like, if you trade Spencer, then you're kind of switch. Like the Mavericks are still minus a ball handler. They still would need a ball handler, even though he's a better ball handler than Spencer. So that's something to consider too.
And he's a better defender. I mean, I know I don't watch Kyrie. I don't watch anybody but the Mavs. But I know this is really, really old tape. But whenever he wanted to guard Steph, he could guard Steph. He's not. I mean, it's all about one at that point. The lateral movement to keep people in front of him. And if we talk about player, Kyrie's a top 25 player. I mean.
So I got to point something out. Andreas, who I was debating in the chat today, is like, well, Kyrie has great relationships with Kidd and Nico, and Kyrie has great relationships with everyone until he decides to nuke them. I mean, he demanded the trade before the season starts, and how did KD feel about that? Like, how did LeBron feel about getting left in with some of the stuff they pulled in Cleveland? It's like relationships don't really seem to matter to Kyrie at all.
Yeah, and we're fan, and this is where the fanatical. The fan. This is where you just gotta use your fanatical like super fan. The happy-go-lucky. Just always hope for the best. Attitude, and you just gotta assume that the next team is gonna figure him out, even though it's not the logical sense. We're all fanatics.
Yes, you're right. I'm very biased.
So, but that's all, man. I just wanted to.
Thank you for kicking us off. You appreciate you, Frank. It's always great. Frank usually calls in the dead of night, and I can tell he's trying not to wake anybody up in his house. So I appreciate full-voiced Frank. Big fan of that. Okay, coming up next, we're going to do my man David. How we doing, David?
Hey, Kirk, I'm sitting here finishing up work for the week, and I look over and see not only the Kyrie announcement, I see you're getting on. I was like, holy shit. All right.
Oh, yeah, I absolutely told my boss, I was like, goodbye. I'm done here.
And I'm out. I'll be brief. I mean, to me, I put it in the chat, but a rental for 1 year, Kyrie, with giving up like no picks or way out there picks and filler, and maybe Hardy would be my only thing. I do not want him long-term character matters. And the West is so open for 1 year and this year only, he might actually put us.
It's such
might actually put us there.
Like, I immediately, when I heard this, like, my first reaction was, oh no. But in terms of just short-term viability, it's fascinating. I can't help myself, because even our man Dalton Trigg is in the chat down there, and I'm pretty sure he was the person who said to me, where it's like, if you can get out from a bunch of salary, don't you have to think about that? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, like if we could somehow get rid of, if all of a sudden we could like be out of Bertan's contract. Whoa, wait a minute. Like that's, oh yeah. So it just to me, I mean, like everything in life, it comes down to price. But long term, definitely would not think he would be a good fit. I think his craziness and his antics, and Luka's still only 23. You don't want that around your like still growing up in America superstar. Like, I don't want Luka to come out as a flat earther 2 years from now. Just
that sort of element of it is concerning, but I also think that like Luka is his own dude. I don't really worry about Luka too much. He's such a diehard competitor that everything else is easy. You know, he's such I love it. That element of it is not something I worry about.
But yeah, I guess my reaction is, if we could have him just for this season and we didn't give up any future draft capital to do it, and we're pretty much doing like player swaps, because they don't have any leverage either, which is the nice part. Like the Nets really, their choice is just keep him and let him walk for nothing, or try and get some pieces back to maybe be contending in the East still. And if they think they can still contend in the East, I don't know, like maybe some combination of like, I don't know what they're going to be looking for, but like, we could give them one young player. I don't want to say Green, but like we could give them maybe we go all offense. Maybe we do DFS.
Well, you also just the one thing I keep thinking.
I don't know.
The one thing I keep thinking about, David, is that at some point a relationship runs its course and people throw their hands up in disgust. And Kyrie asking for a trade after they brought him back, after what he did earlier this year with his, I mean, let's just call it what it is, a dalliance into anti-Semitism. There's no question. I get he's a superstar player, but if he were anybody other than a superstar player, he would have been, they probably wouldn't have brought him back. And so for him to sort of like, he basically burns bridges at just a crazy rate. And so I think if you're looking at this in the short term, like you and I are, and you could get away with something because they might just want, they might just want bodies that can play, because Kevin Durant is so good right now.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.
So,
yeah.
Well, thank you very much for hanging out.
All right. Yeah, thanks for throwing it.
All right. Let's see here. Well, we got a lot of folks. Simon, how are we doing, my East Coast friend?
Well, how are we doing, Kirk? It's been a whirlwind, hasn't it?
It has been. I'm never bored.
All right. So I saw Kyrie's trade request drop earlier, and I really haven't, I've been working all day, so I haven't really been able to kind of follow the nuances of it. But have there been any, specific packages bandied about that the Mavericks would theoretically have to give up in a Kyrie trade?
See, I have no idea, because I think Kyrie's value is like, what do you do? He's nearly unprecedented in NBA history. What kind of, he's a top tier superstar. Even if I don't like him, I have to admit this. And so what do you offer for a superstar who you don't know where he wants to go next year? He has 3 months left. So if I'm the man, I want to say it was Adrian Wojnarowski and Tim McMahon who basically indicated that the Mavericks are not interested in giving up long-term stuff for him because they know it's a risk. And so it's do the Nets want to like bolster depth for a playoff run right now? Is that where you move off a Hardaway or Bullock or something? I don't know. I mean, also the salaries are probably a little bit difficult to match because you have to come within a certain percentage in season. Off season, it's a little more flexible. And so the Mavericks would have to send out significant salary.
Yeah, and I think, from where I kind of sit right now, it seems to me that similar to the Kevin Durant situation is that there's really no trade that's going to materialize that's going to incentivize the Nets to give him up. And especially if you're talking a team like Dallas, it'd probably be some combination of Tim Hardaway Jr., Spencer Dinwiddie, and then you throw in draft picks or whatever, maybe Dorian.
No, if they were throwing a draft pick, I would riot. Like, I don't want to do that.
The draft pick actually doesn't bother me as much as the players because the Mavericks can't draft for shit anyway. Like, when have they ever hit on a draft pick other than Luka? So that part of it doesn't bother me. And I think the other question is, okay, like, say that they do get him, how does he fit with Luka? I'm actually pretty optimistic about that because, putting aside everything else, the off-court stuff, the mercurialness, just on the court, his skill set is so diverse and so varied. He can easily play off of Luka. He can kind of hit the gaps in the mid-range. He can obviously spot up and hit threes. He can run the offense at a pinch. So obviously, if they get him, it raises their ceiling in a league in which it seems to be a wide open title window. So that's kind of how you would talk yourself into it. And from the Mavericks perspective, obviously, other than Luka, there's nobody on the roster who's anywhere even near untouchable. It's very, very, very complicated for a lot of reasons. If they can find a way to do it, the other question is there going to be another team, cough, cough, Lakers, that is going to outbid that?
See, and LeBron chimed in about 4:00 with a tweet with some emojis. Classic LeBron chicanery. If LeBron is able to push the Lakers brass to move KD would die, but to move like Russ in a pick for Kyrie, I think Josh Bowe and I, my co-editor is in the chat. I think
the Lakers would do that. Would have done that trade in the summer. They would have done it on the first day of the season. Brooklyn does. Obviously, nobody wants Westbrook. He's an even bigger negative asset than Kyrie is.
So Josh says in the chat, like, Russ in a pick sucks, and I don't disagree. But does Tim Hardaway and player and Berton, that sucks too? All of these things suck. It's a question of what do the Nets want to swallow?
Yeah, and that's kind of gets back to my original point is there's not going to be any team that is going to offer them anything to entice them. I think they're fine with letting him walk in the summer, but as long as they have him and Kevin Durant, they have a puncher's chance. And again, this season more than any other in recent memory has probably 12 teams can convince themselves, well, if things break right and we stay healthy, we have a chance. And Brooklyn is certainly one of those teams if they have those two guys, but there's nobody that they're going to get back for Kyrie, of equal value to where they can say that. And then they're just
That's right.
And then essentially wasting another year of Kevin Durant.
Right. And that's where the calculus is, where it's who is more concerned? It's wild. I cannot believe Kyrie did this. He apparently, and I'm piecing this together, and I could be having.
He's upset that they wouldn't give him an extension. Is that why
they offered him an extension? He didn't like the extension, and the extension probably was laden with things like, "Please don't be an asshat." Right?
Well, it's probably related to games
That's a great point.
Games played, minutes, and I'm assuming it wasn't a 4-year extension. It was probably like a 2-year. Yes. Team option, maybe something like that, but he's,
so here's a wild stat. Here's a wild stat from our guy, Istok Franco, who is over there at D Magazine.
Yeah, I'm familiar with his work. He's great.
I'm getting the numbers wrong, but over the last it's like the last 3 or 4 years. Spencer, maybe it's 3 years. Kristaps Porzingis has played 193 games to Kyrie Irving's 140. So if we're talking, and granted, he like voluntarily chose to take half the season off because he wasn't interested in taking the vaccine, but he's also not the most durable player.
Right. Yeah. He's not. And, the vaccine thing, honestly, like, I mean, that really had, no basis in logic, but regardless.
So everybody's telling me the Nets are in fourth. So we have a pair of 4 seeds staring at each other, wanting to know if they should make a move. So what else you got for us, Simon?
Well, I mean, nothing really. I mean, I'm just kind of airing out my thoughts, and then, my initial thoughts. Obviously, I don't really haven't even had enough time to process all this, as I'm sure you are, which is why you're doing this room. I mean, I would, if it did happen, I would be very interested, and I would be more optimistic for the Mavericks' chances this season.
Sure, short term. I like it.
Short term, you like it, and then long term, you gotta just cross that bridge when you get there. But it's like they're not going to have I don't think a better opportunity to get talent, because they need talent and they do not have it. So we'll see.
It's a good argument. Man. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, sir.
All right. It's also important to note that I am a content whore, and I am J. Jonah Jameson demanding more pictures of Spider-Man, only it's Mavericks content. So you knew I was going to do something like this. All right. Coming up next, my man Knob.
Hey, how are you doing?
Welcome.
This is a terrible idea. I want nothing to do with Kyrie Irving on my basketball team. Context matters, so all dependent on what we have to give up.
Really scratchy audio.
Can you hear me?
There we go.
Okay. I think it all context matters, so depending on what we give up, right, that'll all determine how you feel about it. But I think regardless of what we give up, I don't see him being here long term. And I don't think he would want to stay here long term. I don't think the Mavs would have the ability to even sign him long term, possibly with like salary cap issues. I thought Dalton brought up a good thing on Dalton Trigg. I saw he tweeted, he was like, hey, Nico might be able to get his Nike contract reinstated. I thought that was
which I don't think he even wants. Like the Nike wants nothing to do with him anymore.
You're right. But yeah, I don't want anything to do with him either. I would rather Mavs use all the trade assets they have just to either try and see if you can get some kind of pick compensation, or try and take somebody else's distressed asset for your distressed asset. And I the only reason this would even be intriguing is just because of his talent, and it'd just be nice to watch different players play for the team and somebody who can actually do something. But this would be a terrible decision, all around it. This is a terrible idea. I'm not for it. I can't imagine what he's not going to stay here long term anyway. So we'd just be wasting our time.
Appreciate the comments. I like the firmness of the take.
Yeah.
Take care. Talk soon. This sort of stuff, this sort of things where, people basically have to say this is more important to me than other things, are very difficult when it gets involved with sports. And I'm never going to be one to tell somebody else what I think they should value. But that's part of the difficulty of the Kyrie Irving conversation, because he comes with so much baggage. And if the baggage isn't for you, I get it. I really don't think it's for me, but I also don't have any say in this. So we have to discuss it. All right. Let's go with my man, Josh. Hi, Josh. Editor, basically co-editor-in-chief of MavsMoneyball.com. What's going on, bub?
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Just watching.
Okay. How do I sound? Because I don't have any headphones on. I'm just
it's fine. My phone speaker. This is all just it's vibes.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's just I don't want to talk about the personal stuff because
explain your position on why you think it's a better, why you think the Mavericks have the better package. I'm
yeah, that's the part that's more interesting to me, because I don't want to talk about how much of an idiot he is, and I don't want to think about that part. And I don't want to think about the introductory press conference where Sint is answering questions and trying to defend why Kyrie is a changed man and his views aren't representative of how he really feels. And I'm just like dreading that part of the experience happening if they do trade for him. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just, again, this all comes down to if the teams that are reported are the teams interested. Like, remember the KP trade, the Mavs were not on anyone's list. And that kind of came out of nowhere. So qualifying it with that, there could be a team we're not talking about. You said New Orleans, right? Like that would be like really interesting. They definitely have the assets that could beat a Mavs deal. But if it's really down to like the Lakers and the Mavs, and I think I also saw the Suns could make it interesting. But I just like the Nets are still going to have KD, unless KD comes to the Nets ownership group and he's like, hey, if you move Kyrie, I'm done. I'm out of here. If that doesn't happen, if they can get KD to stay on board and stay on the team, and really KD might not have much of a choice because of his he's locked in. Like, what's he going to really do? I don't think he's going to sit out games. Like, they already called one of his bluffs on a trade already. Mm-hmm. So, like, they're still in fourth place in the East. They still have to win back. Like, they're not going to tank, and they're not going to want to drop far in the standings. Like, I just don't see why, like, Westbrook and nothing, like the Lakers have nothing else besides Westbrook. Like there's just nothing else. Like, does KD want Westbrook back on the team? Like, we talk about LeBron putting his foot down and trying to make things happen with his influence. What's KD going to do when it's like, hey, KD, we're going to bring Westbrook back? Like,
is it okay if I want that just for LOLs? Because like that strikes me as hilarious.
Right, that would be hilarious, but I just don't see that, and they're going to take a step back. Like, the Mavs, for all their faults and with the team, the fault with their team is the top end. Like, we have all agreed that all these dudes on the roster, we've all mostly agreed that if they were like one or two spots down in terms of importance in the rotation, that it would clear a lot of things up. Well, the Nets have KD, and the Nets have a bunch of other guys that can do things. Like Nick Claxton's the Defensive Player of the Year. Royce O'Neal's playing well for them. Seth Curry's playing well for them. Like, they don't necessarily need they don't really have trouble with top end talent, especially when you have KD. So, they could want a Dinwiddie to replace, to kind of be a facsimile of what Kyrie was giving them. Like, Dorian would be really helpful for them. So would maybe Christian Wood off the bench. And the Lakers just don't have any of those guys that are as interesting. Like, and plus Westbrook's salary is bigger than Kyrie's.
Pretty significantly, right?
More. Yeah, the Nets would have to include more. It wouldn't just be Kyrie. So it's like, why would the Nets, like, do the Nets need cap space that bad that they're going to want to basically punt on this season? Like, I don't think so. They're still going to want to win. So in that terms, I think the Mavericks have a lot of advantages in terms of what they can offer. But again, if the Clippers want to barge in, if the Suns want to trade Chris Paul and Cam Johnson, then it's like, okay, I don't know. But if it's really going to come down, if it's going to come down to the Lakers and the Mavs, I feel like the Mavs, if the Mavs really want it, if they want to do this, I think they could get it done. And if the Nets are actually serious about trading him, despite LeBron's tweeting or whatever, so that's just kind of how I feel.
It's a pretty good argument.
Like I said,
kind of annoyed at you.
I know. It sounds. I made it sound too real, didn't I? But I mean, yeah. Personally, I mean, I don't want him on the team. It'd be a headache, and all that stuff. I don't want to get into.
Sure.
But
well, you are just trolling me ruthlessly because you think and you've heard me out. I'm taking a middle of the line path for the show because I want to have a good show and a good discussion. I also understanding that I personally have zero say in this. Kirk, the basketball fan, wants nothing to do with Kyrie, and the power rankings of why is actually pretty lengthy. But I also have to admit that the basketball appeal of it for now until the Mavericks were eliminated from the playoffs is hard to argue.
Yeah, you've watched Parks and Rec, right? Do you remember the scene where Ron is supposed to throw a barbecue for the staff, and he gets pissed off at him, and then later he's like, "Okay, I got to make do," and he cooks him that pig, and he brings it into the office. I remember when he's like, "Here's Tom," and all the people in the room go, "Oh!" and then they're like, "Oh wait, that actually smells really good." That's probably what a lot of Mavs fans are going to be like, because they're going to be like, oh, and then he's going to
because most fans, like
score
most
35.
Mavs, most sports fans, like this is just a fact. Okay, those of us who live online are so in the weeds on stuff. Most sports fans do not know about any of this stuff. It's
not a lot of people are actually
like
on Twitter.
there was this line around the Nets arena at one point of like black Israelites who are really, if you've ever come across them in person, some of the least friendly folks I ever in public, kind of scary. Like lined up around, it's like, and there was this comment made by a reporter, okay? An honest to goodness reporter who's like covering this, and it was like, look at all this support Kyrie Irving has. And it was like, oh no. Yeah. And it's, and most fans, like Dallas Mavericks fans, would embrace Kyrie wholeheartedly. Like that's a statement of fact. Because teams, yeah.
I think
it's just like we see this every year. Like who's the Cowboys defensive guy? The younger one. Micah has some off the field issues in college. Okay, some scary stuff if you don't know about it. And do Cowboys fans care?
Yeah.
No. Like I just and that's something that we have to wrestle with all the time, because it's like, the Mavericks have had challenges the last 4 years with some of their things, related to the sexual harassment scandal, etc.
Yeah, dude, we still have to talk about a team where like all that crap happened and it didn't like no one really got punished. It was a slap on the wrist, and we're still
we're still here because we're like, ultimately we do this for the basketball. So it's like I always waffle very forced. I'm not a moral leader. I'm never going to really tell anyone how to feel. I'm just going to say this is how I feel, and all this would do is make an already complicated Mavericks situation for me more complicated.
Which is why it has to happen. Not why it has to, or why it's going.
Yeah.
You're just cursed.
No, it's right, because it's like we don't have any say. Like I've already had like my friends in a former site I used to write for, Hardwood Paroxysm, a group of people have already agreed to buy me a Kyrie Irving jersey. Like this is sports fan.
This is how it's supposed to end.
Right. It's very funny. So, well, thank you for hanging out with us.
Yeah, that's all I want to get to.
All right.
I see we got some more people.
Oh, we got a lot of people in here.
Yeah, you have some fun.
All right, talk soon. Okay, coming up next. Jeez, we got a lot of people. I might not be able to get to everybody because my son's football practice is going to end soon, but I got my guy Jason Gallagher, the man in the black hat. What's happening? Tell me your thoughts.
Okay, I'm gonna keep it strictly to basketball and not the fact that Kyrie is just generally just pretty annoying. So
am I. That happens.
Yeah. And so what's really weird about Kyrie, just in general, is that it's sort of made everybody lose their minds in terms of talking about him as a basketball player. And I have obviously very skilled. We've talked about that to death, but I just can't point to a single thing he's done in the last 4 or 5 years that have been of any consequence positively in basketball, other than making the Nets somewhat competitive over the last couple months.
What
I would just say I hate it strictly for the basketball reasons. And guys,
the basketball
it's not
reasons. Okay.
Yeah, it's for the basketball. Are you kidding me?
Let's go. Let's take it.
You know what a basket. Everyone who's saying it's a bad take. Okay, congratulations. He's got great handles. I'll give you that, guys. But what I would say is that it matters that these organizations don't know what to do with him. Like, it matters that the Brooklyn Nets gave him the keys, fired their coach. They're now a top 4 seed in the East, and he wants out. Like, guys, you actually want, the problem with bringing in Kyrie is that we have too valuable of an asset in Luka Doncic to bring in somebody who would absolutely fuck that up. Like, if Luka wasn't already packing his bags, bring Kyrie here for 2 years, and I guarantee you that he's out faster than that.
But give me this. Give me this, though, Jason. Yeah. He's absolutely advocating for this right now if he has any ability. Luka Doncic is. Yeah.
Who, Luka?
Because players are interesting folks. Like, Dirk wanted Rajon Rondo. We got to remember that. Dirk is why Rajon Rondo came to Dallas.
No, I know. I I hope that the people who are hearing me aren't like thinking that it's not really about the off court. It's not really about anything. It really is just about like his ability to make a team or a franchise better. And when you have a player like Luka, the franchise has to be in really good hands. And it will not be if you bring in a player who leaves a trail of ashes behind him most of the time.
Well,
like,
okay, so hear me out. Devil's advocate. Kyrie Irving says the quiet part loud all the time. Even if I think he's wrong about what his thoughts are, he always says the quiet part loud.
Sure.
The unimaginable comedy that could come with Kyrie Irving nuking Mark Cuban and Jason Kidd is hysterical.
I mean,
because it's like I have all these people. Oh, he has really good relationships with Jason Kidd. Him and Jason Kidd are like oil and water. What are we talking about? Competitive work environments, Matt. It's like I like lots of people. Most I can't work with most people because it's about drive and singularity of purpose. And Kyrie, it's a long season. So that would be hilarious for that.
I completely agree. There would be a lot of comedy, but I just on a pure basketball place like this doesn't put us in contention. It at best gets us, I guess, second, maybe conference finals, but we've been there and we've done that. And we had a much more, honest to God, a player that we had Jalen Brunson, who not to go in the past, but I'll take him 1,000,000 times out of 1,000,000 over Kyrie strictly for the fact that, guys, it matters. The locker room is a part of the game. And everyone who just completely disregards that with regard to Kyrie, and I get it because of probably some of the stuff he stands for, probably because of whatever, but people have his back in a way that I'm just kind of like, are we ignoring the last several years of this guy just, go look at what he's done for the Nets. It's nothing. It's nothing.
Man, just firm takes.
It's not like I have the facts to back it up. It is crystal clear. I don't understand what he has done in the last few years to be like, yeah, let's actually bring the most polarizing person in basketball into the locker room, in which we are desperately trying to make sure that our most valuable asset doesn't leave. That's insane.
Interesting. All right. Well,
that's insane.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your passion.
Hey, and all the people in the comments, I just want y'all to know I dropped out of college. I'm not even that smart. So if you hate my takes, I get it.
Yeah, but you also wrote basketball and musical. So
I did write a basketball musical at one point.
And you also rewrote Taylor Swift's Blank Space to be about Rajon Rondo. You've done some pretty incredible things with your time. Hallelujah. That's a great point. You wrote that too. God damn, you're talented. You're so annoying. Okay. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. All right. I'm going to read that Chris Haynes tweet that everybody told me about. Kyrie Irving's camp did not negotiate after the Brooklyn Nets presented an offer that was tied to the team winning a championship. League sources tell TNT and Bleacher Report. Told the issue is not about money, and now it said he wouldn't even stay if offered a max contract. See, the wonderful thing about Chris Haynes is he's just he says league sources, and what he means is player X straight up fucking told me this. It's amazing. All right, man, we got some heat in the chat. I love it when it's not my fault. Everybody, just be nice to each other as much as possible. We don't have any say in this. I know we're going to disagree on quite a lot, but that's normal. All right, I'm going to keep going. Tyler, what do you got, guy?
Kirk, how we doing?
Love it. That's it, just love the discourse. And Josh Bowe says the Mavs are the team for the discourse, and as usual, he's right.
Well, I get the pleasure to follow Jason, so I will present my point this way. Kyrie is the beautiful girl you see in college at a bar. It was a certified absolute lunatic. All your buddies are telling you absolutely do not go see this girl. And then you go do it anyway, and then look what happens. Oh, yeah. This is Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
You don't make that mistake with Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie Irving's like when he has a biography one day, it's just he's the beautiful mistake. It's just he's so talented. Somebody was saying, he's like, well, look at the shot he made in 2016, and I'm like, friendo, that was 7 years ago. I love this.
It's like, do we know how long ago that was? Yeah.
Just incredible. It's incredible. This is such a fun conversation. I love getting upset about sports because it ultimately, like, we just have no say. You know, we just have no say. It's the best.
Yeah, I mean, I will sit here and argue it to the death, but at the end of the day, like, who really gives a shit? Because like we don't get to make that choice.
Krishna, and who's a longtime listener, always comes up on stage here. I'll get to him if I can here. Said, I love this because nothing will happen. And here's why I did the show. I think this might happen. I am not one to prognosticate because I'm always I'm just very conservative in how I'm not good at predicting moves, but this just feels like the right mix of desperation and opportunity.
It just feels so Mavs, doesn't it?
It's perfect. Because it also serves not to make it about me, but the thing that would singularly make me the most mad is one of the things that almost always happens with the Mavericks. So.
Man, I have a friend who's a Celtics fan, and he's just giving me all the shit online right now. So, I mean, if we can get, I just don't even know. It's going to happen because, Mavs, right? So just brace yourselves.
Well, we'll see. Thank you so much for hanging out.
Yeah, thanks, man. Keep it up.
All right. Reading y'all's comments, and I just want you to know that you are being seen. Okay, she. Sorry, we're upset. Some of the folks are arguing with you. I hear you, and I appreciate your point of view. Just want that to be said out loud. Okay, coming up next is Harris. Welcome back, Harris.
Hey, Kirk. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. So I think this is happening mostly because I think the Nets want Wood. I think even if Katie leaves, the dude that's going to be on their contract, their team for a long time is going to be Ben Simmons, and he needs to stretch 5. And I think that fit works perfectly. They're both guys that we're unsure if we're going to sign or the teams are going to sign if they're going to sign the next season. And you just add in some salary filler there. I don't know if it's going to take picks. I don't think either team wants picks for those guys. The Nets want them, but I don't think they're going to get them for Kyrie. So I think it's going to be Wood and Bertans or Hardaway.
I'm sorry, say that again. My son was screaming at me from 30 feet.
Oh, basically, I think the deal's going to get done because the Nets want Wood. They want Wood because of Ben Simmons. He needs a stretch 5.
That'd be an interesting pairing. That's a fun one. I'm curious about that.
Yeah,
and
he could play. He could play next to Claxton as well too. It wouldn't be too awful. He's pretty flexible with their team.
That's a good take, Harris. That's a good take. I appreciate that. Thank you for bringing that one up. I hadn't really thought about Wood too much, but I like it. All right.
No problem, man.
Talk soon. Okay, guys, there's 10 more people waiting, and I don't know if I can get to everybody. So I think I'm going to have to cut this one short. I really, really apologize. You know how it's kind of my deal to get to as many people as possible. We even have some longtime folks in the chat. I hate not getting to Krishna. There's Adam, Josh Brown, Grayson. Shoot, and half of y'all are going to send me DMs yelling at me after this, which I want you to. My guy Brent Brooks, Jose, Micah, Juan. I really appreciate you coming in, but I have to go now. I will post the show a little later tonight. I'm probably going to have to go through it, see if there's anything dumb I need to edit out that I said, which I hope, there's always dumb things I say. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I will be back tomorrow night after the JV Mavericks get waxed by the Golden State Warriors because no one is playing tomorrow night. Josh Green is the point guard. Everybody get really excited. We'll talk soon. Thanks for hanging out. Go Mavs.